Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Stride Gamer here, bringing a new Anno 1800 episode, and this is actually the last episode in this quick series of different episodes reviewing what happened in the last few hours, days, around a lot of Ubisoft news. This one will be around the Eden Burning scenario, which is coming with game update 13 next week on December 14th for free to all players. So this is not a paid DLC, everybody will get it, and it is a scenario. And by scenario, it means it is not part of your campaign, of your sandbox, it's actually something on the side. So on the main menu of Anno, you'll see, I guess, a new tab called Scenarios, and clicking on it for now will only have this Eden Burning scenario. Why Eden? Basically, it's a magnificent, amazing, beautiful island that is sort of burning at the moment, and you need to turn it back into an Eden. So, a perfect, beautiful island. So let's dive right in. We're going to cover a lot of things that were said and showed during the Twitch stream yesterday, but also, my thoughts, speculations, and things like this. So let's dive right in. If you want to look at the full stream, I'll put obviously the link to that video in the description below. It starts at 24:50. Or, I mean, before they talk about it just a bit, but the actual gameplay starts at 24:50, almost up to the end. So first of all, what do you need to know? Well, this Eden Burning came out of the Green Game Jam for the UN around forest and ocean. So, the idea is obviously to build something sustainable. It's not to build like min-maxers like I often do. So we'll have to change a bit our gameplay. There is also other big changes, like you are not able to move buildings. When you destroy them, you don't get any resources back. And the goal is to complete the dam project. As you can see here, the goal is to complete the dam project. There's 3 levels. You get only the dam is bronze. If you keep your island health above 80%, it's silver. And if you do that, all of that in less than 2 hours and 30 minutes, you get the gold. So we also get a bit of an idea with this on how long the scenario probably is. They're also saying we probably will have to fail a few times before winning it. So you see a bit sort of the range, like if it takes you the first time sort of 5 hours because you're learning, then the second time maybe 3 hours, and then your third time you manage to get gold in 2 hours and 30 minutes. Less than that, it's sort of a 10-hour type of thing. But let's see, maybe it's even more than that. Who knows? This is only single player. You won't have co-op there. There will also be quite a few differences with the base game. Things like there is no happiness, there is no influence, no luxury goods at all. The needs of the population are also different. So we're gonna talk about that. And there's no ornament. So it's not while this is supposed to be a beautiful island, this is not about making beauty building. This is really about gameplay, actually. So something that I like, some people may not like, but yeah, this is important. There is also, you can see this is a completely new map. There is only one island in which you can build on, quite a big one to be honest, but there will be other islands around with, either, I guess, quests or treasures, things like this. So we definitely want to look at it, to look around. Before we dive into the actual gameplay, one element I want to mention is, if you looked at my video yesterday on Season 4, which was announced, and also speculations, there's a lot of talk about electricity. And in this scenario, we're actually getting electricity in the new world thanks to a dam. So maybe that's also how we will going to get electricity in the new world. Yesterday in the speculations, I talked about mills from the wind, but dam from the water power could also be an interesting, way. So let's move a bit right then. he's gonna to start building things like, you see a sawmill. You need to be careful because the trees are limited, and not just the trees, almost most of the bigger resources are actually limited. So things like the trees, the fishes, in your mines, we're gonna need iron for tools, also the clay pit for the bricks. All of this is limited, so we're gonna have to be careful about this. For some of them, there is items to get more or to have an infinite production, it seems, but by default it will be limited, so we definitely need to be careful about that. As I said earlier, what's will be in some sense interesting and another may also limit the game is, my understanding is, this island is a unique island. It it will look the same for everybody. It will always look the same when you do it several times. So there is also an interesting things around trying to get the best perfect layout. But when we get there, it means also, we probably won't want to do it again. So we'll have to see that. And the last element I wanted to mention, sorry, before diving into the gameplay, there will be no war. There's no military elements as far as they said. Okay, so now let's dive into the important elements. The first one I wanted to show you is some of the needs for the population. So the population are actually called jornaleros and obreros, but their needs are actually different from, and here you can see them. This is a jornalero. It does need the market, classic, but then it needs water, so it's a new service. Then bananas, fish, some sort of clothes that you can see here from alpaca and cows, I think. Then tools, which is sort of wood and iron, and then a church or chapel. I haven't seen how they called it. And then the obreros are gonna have even newer needs, like they mention in the dev blog, which we will look at a bit also later. They actually mention how it's called. Here, coffee pots or atole, maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong, with will need corn and sugarcane. So a lot of old needs and also newer ones. That's interesting to get into. Of course, given that we only have one island, we get all of the facilities, it seems, right on this island, including also some mines. So after these needs, let's dive into what is really important, which is those bars at the top, because this is the whole game, and here it is. So these bars is our eco balance, and you see 3 columns. One is the water quality, one is the soil quality, and one is the air quality. So here you can think about, your water will actually look pristine or will look terrible depending on what you do. And it's things like overfishing or maybe also oil spill. I don't know, we'll have to see. Then the soil, similarly, they said that the visual may change into a sort of wasteland. So let's see how that goes. But it's things like probably, if you have too many of the single culture, like corn all together next to each other, then that won't be good at all. And then lastly, the air quality, which is sort of also maybe in a sense, CO2 level, right? So it comes with deforestation. If you have a lot of forest, you're producing oxygen and taking out the CO2, so it's probably good, right? It's a plus. On the other hand, if you have sawmills, maybe if you have a lot of industries, then they're going to pollute and bring CO2 into the atmosphere, so that will decrease. And then what's really interesting is, this is linked to the actual gameplay in a couple of links. The first one we saw, if you want to get gold, you need to always be above that 80%, right? Which, I think this is the 80%. Then also, if you're below this element, as you can see, this threshold, you will get negative events. So things like, you know, the equivalent of fire or the equivalent of illness, but maybe a bit more linked to sustainability. So things like a drought or a flood, for example, right? Then the second is if you get to that one over here, over there, you know, which I guess could be something like 20% maybe. At this point, it's not just a random event, it's a pure debuff. For example, they show the water one. The water one, you'll get productivity minus 50% and illness chance plus 60%. So quite a big debuff that you'll get by, you know, across your whole island. And I'm sure if you get all three, you know, it's get pretty hard, and then you go even quicker to zero, right? As you can see here, the productivity being for the animal farms on that one. And then if you get to zero, I think on any of them, I don't think it's you have to get to zero on all, I think it's just on any of them, then you get you lose completely. The scenario is over. So that's definitely something you have to be careful of. One thing I did appreciate is they show that if you over any of those things, there is a jump to location. So that will be good to, you know, to get there. And then lastly, you know, the last thing I wanted to show you that's quite important is to be able to do all of this, we will also have access to some items. They mentioned that the items are not always perfect. They sort of come with drawbacks. Some of them we've seen actually, it seems pretty good. But yeah, we will have to craft them with resources. Some of them will be temporary, like you only get them for an amount of time, or in this gameplay, versus other apparently are permanent, meaning even if you restart, you will start with those items. So that of course will help getting the goal at some point, right? Like you can do a whole try and only focus on getting one item, then you try again, then you get the other item, then you have all the items ready to do your goal, and that will of course make it easier. So we'll have to see also maybe challenges like getting the goal without any items or things like this. So here it is, ladies and gents, around sort of most of what was said during this. There is also a blog recapping most of what I said. You know, I'll put it in the description below. They talk also a bit more about the story. I didn't want to spoil too much the story. I think it would be good for everybody to discover that by themselves. This is exactly what we saw. So hope you're excited about it. This is obviously coming again next week as the free update. So hope everybody will test that. One small negative news I have to tell you all though is I will actually be traveling next week, so I won't be able to try it exactly on the day, but toward the end of the week I will definitely be back to test it and to show it on the channel. If you like this episode, don't hesitate to press the like button and also to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I hope to see you next time.